applause for you guys, by the way. That's a big deal. At least we're not number one in anything negative. That is positive. That Kenyans want to be in the know, and Kenyans actively seek you guys out, and we make use of the internet. However, it can be argued that because of corruption, we have to ensure that the people who we are interacting with are legit. So there's that caveat there. Anyway, welcome. And I hope you guys are going to have an amazing time. I am so excited to be here to host you guys, and I am sure we're going to have a blast. It's been a while. I can't even remember the last time we had a ceremony of this magnitude in person. So first of all, let me commend you guys for showing up, man. Give yourselves a round of applause for showing up, for standing up, and not letting the current issues of the world put you down. I mean, it's just amazing to witness how everything has grown, how the internet and the usage has grown. Because, as a bachelor, you know, I never foresaw the day where I would be buying chapos on Twitter, man. Yeah, but now that is where we're at, and it's because of the good work that you guys are doing. So we're going to have a lovely session with amazing speakers. It's just not a celebration, it's just not an award ceremony, but we're also here to learn. We're here to find out what are my friends in the business doing? What are we involved in so that we can be able to learn and borrow and even, you know, share this cake that we have in e-commerce. And right now, we're about to get some knowledge. Say knowledge. You know, we're supposed to get some wisdom from one of our own who is very good and very vast in knowledge when it comes to matters e-commerce. So ladies, in the interest of time, please help me welcome the one and only Eric Wafula, the head of marketing at Rome. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, as we usher him in.
Mike, that was quite a big introduction for a very simple person. But it's a pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. Very proud to be part of this conversation. My name is Eric Wafula, Head of Marketing, Rome. Super. Head of Marketing for Rome. That's in Kenya, it's represented by Pigi Amin, Breita Monday, Byrant Kenya, and Cheki.co.ke. So, yeah, actually, quite a pleasure being here. And I was told to talk about customer experience. And something happened. An experience happened to me some time back, 2 weeks ago. I was actually invited for a wedding. And these guys met online, right? They actually met online, courted online. Much of their relationship is actually online. And it got me thinking, you know, there's a time I remember I used to say, I'm a digital marketer. And it got me thinking, am I a digital marketer or am I a marketer in a digital space? You know, it really, and I thought about it for quite some time and found an answer. It's actually human behavior that is changing. And what we are doing is adapting to it. You know? When it comes to stuff like search engine optimization, it should be more about the human than the tech part of it. If you want to get your SEO right, it's quite simple. Just ask yourself, what would Google want, you know, for a human interaction? This is not a machine interaction. For a human interaction. So pretty much digital has woven its way and become a part of life. And consumer behavior sits at the center of it. So I'm going to ask you one question. How do you prefer to kill a rat? There are several ways of killing a rat. You know, you need to kill it, but how do you prefer to kill it? Do you want to get those poison, rat and rat? Do you want to get a cat, to employ a cat to do that work for you? Do you want to get a mouse trap? Or I hear there's also a glue trap. And that's the point of departure between product development and marketing, because marketing tries to influence you so that at least you get a preferred way of killing that rat. But it all boils down to human behavior, you know, and that product market fit. So the first thing which is key in customer experience is having the right product market fit. So if you don't get that one right, there's no way your product is going. You need to assess the needs of the target market first before engaging with them. And we know so many nice ideas that have actually flopped because they did not have that fit when it came to the market. So that's something that is really, really important. And once again, I reiterate the consumer behavior here, right? Up to that point, any questions? I want this to be an interaction, right? So I'm here just to, I really don't want to talk about the do's and don'ts. I just wanted to condense it in a very familiar way that you can be able to understand, right? From customer experience point of view. People want to feel valued. And for you to get it right with your product, you need to deliver that value from start to finish. Thank you. I think I'll take questions at this point.
Yeah, so is there anyone who has maybe a question for the speaker before we move forward? You can just raise your hand and we will find a way to bring a microphone to you. Okay, going once, going twice. Okay, sold. Thank you so much. It seems the way you were explaining, you were very articulate, and they got everything that they needed to hear and to learn. So thank you so much. Another round of applause for our speaker. It has been amazing. So thank you so much for that informative speech. I'm sure we have all learned something about e-commerce and how to grow our business. Now, before we continue to the next part of the session, let me just begin by acknowledging those people who are able to make this event come together. And we will begin with the one and only I&M. A big round of applause for I&M for sponsoring this event. We appreciate your support. We also have to acknowledge Standard Group. A round of applause for Standard Group for giving us visibility and for always supporting these award ceremonies. We also appreciate our partners, that is Notify Logistics. A round of applause for them. We also appreciate Go Places Kenya. Another round of applause. And as you know, this one is brought to you courtesy of Vibrant Digital. A round of applause for them for an amazing, amazing endeavor. It's not easy, man, doing this thing in the midst of COVID and making sure it happens with the current situation in the country. It's not easy, so we acknowledge the efforts that have been put in place. Now, it's about time for me to hand over to a very, very intelligent young man who's going to lead us into an amazing session where we are going to be discussing reengineering retail, the store of the future post-COVID-19. And without wasting any time, please allow me to invite the moderator of the day, who is a very amazing young man and a personal friend. So without much further ado, ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for Brian George from KTN. A round of applause for him.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you feeling today? You're good? Sawa. My name is Brian George Otieno. As Michael has said, I'm a news anchor at KTN, business reporter. I write and I do some of this stuff that I'm about to do right now. Having a platform like this where we can talk about matters of technology in Kenya gives me a lot of satisfaction as a journalist, particularly who is trying to champion the cause of technological advancement in the country. Why am I saying so? For some reason, we have had a lot of content on air that focuses on politics and all these things. With all due respect, that is properly covered and everything. But I guess why I'm here today is because of the kind of opportunity that KTN is trying to give young innovators, young people who are advancing the cause of technology today in the country, and just trying to find solutions towards what we are trying to do as a young people towards things like employment, securing employment, advancing technological issues in the country, and of course for progress, because we are benchmarking at the Silicon Savannah, but we are yet to match up, all right? So how are they doing it? What are they doing better? Where have we come from? What solutions have not been working for us? We want to take stock of that, all of that today. We have a good panel lined up for you. And of course, we'll be giving you a chance also to hear from you. What are some of the questions or what are some of the things that you'd want us to address today?
All right, great. So I think in 30 seconds, I'm going to give each one of us an opportunity to really sort of just tell us what it is you do and how the experience has been for you before we now get into the topic of the day, which is taking stock of the history of e-commerce in our country, where we are at, and the future. So the lady again, you can go first.
Hi everyone, I'm Louisa Darwala. I'm the CEO and founder for Emerse. In terms of e-commerce, we've been in the industry for past 4 years, but personally I've been observing and been a part of African e-commerce landscape for past 7 years. We've interacted with various projects, comparing a lot of global e-commerce scenarios across different continents, different countries with Kenya. We've been a part of project with UN, WTO, and just in kind of accelerating the Kenyan e-commerce in general as vis-a-vis the other global partners that we have. What we've seen in past 7 years of our involvement with the industry, of course there have been leaps and bounds of growth, also facilitated by COVID that we'll discuss further. But in general, the adaptability of e-commerce, the young population that we have in Kenya, the response to e-commerce has been phenomenal. A huge growth rate or a huge J-curve that we see. I mean, now we're all familiar with J-curves, right? Past COVID. But yes, so we've seen a great advancement in how e-commerce was 6 to 7 years ago and now, and I'm really happy to be here to discuss the part of my journey with you. Thank you.
Amazing. I think the first is great. Sanitize and give it to, Abraham already has one, so it's okay, you can sanitize the other one and pass it over. 30 seconds, Abraham, what do you do?
Hi guys, so my name is Abraham Boothia. I represent a company known as UserPoint. I'm the founder and CEO. And what we do at UserPoint is started this journey a while back and basically trying to empower small businesses to take their businesses online. And by taking businesses online, I mean from the day-to-day bookkeeping. So if you walk to a retail shop, if it's a wine and spirits, if it's a beauty shop, there are chances that they could be using UserPoint. But over and above that, we're trying to help a business to do 4 major things: to become more accountable, to become more efficient, and to become more profitable, and also intelligent. And by doing this, we hope that these businesses can be able to make much more informed decisions. But over and above that, we just don't offer the bookkeeping solution. So we tie that as well to e-commerce. So whatever is there on your physical shop is also whatever is there on your e-commerce real time. So if someone walks in your shop today, buys something, and then on your e-commerce it also reflects automatically. So we are linking that as well. But over and above that, you're also introducing things around financing, giving loans to small businesses, and so many other things. So basically our aim is just to empower these small businesses. I'm glad to be part of this conversation. I believe e-commerce is the way to go. Thank you very much.
Great. Round of applause, please. So if you're here and you own a business, kindly take note and please make sure you network. Don't just be sitting with the person you came with. Make sure you grab a number or two, take a business card here, talk about business here and there, make contacts. Abraham, good to hear from you. Eric Wafola, once again, let's hear from you.
Good afternoon, once again. Like I said, head of marketing for Rome. Question now is, what's Rome? It's a classified platform, cuts across different verticals. And the thing about Rome is we try to be, we want to actually journey with you throughout your life. So if you're looking for a job, we've got Brighter Monday. You've gotten a job, you want to buy something, for a phone, laptop, etc. We've got PGME to help you. As you grow up in your career, get another job again through Brighter Monday. And let's say this time you say, okay, I want to buy a vehicle, we've got checky.co.ke for you, and afterwards you grow again, get another job or a promotion, get more money. We've got Buy Rent Kenya to help you buy a house. I think the only thing we don't have is a dating site.
Of course, that would be helpful to some of us. Michael, last but not least.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Mwangi. I work for I&M Bank as the head of digital business. Very excited to be here, very excited to be part of this conversation. As I&M Bank, we have been in the e-commerce business for 12 years. We've actually been offering e-commerce services to merchants since 2009. And it's been a very interesting journey to see how the industry has transitioned over time. For the longest time, e-commerce was something that we were selling to the hotel industry and the travel industry, largely because we had tourists coming into the country who wanted to pay by card, wanted to make their bookings online and use their cards. It was not something that we as Kenyans were interacting with. So it's very exciting to see what has happened over the last 5 years, the kind of growth, the kind of innovation that we are seeing in this space. And we really want to be part of that journey. And we want to continue playing that supporting role to the entrepreneurs, to the innovators, and to the businesses that are getting into this space. It's a very exciting space, lots and lots of opportunities. And we as Kenyans have proven time and time again that in some cases we come to the party late, but when we get there, we make it rock.
Most definitely. He sort of preempted my question because I was going to ask the history of the e-commerce platform in Kenya. Of course, when you mention e-commerce, you talk about Jumia, of course, would be on top of your mind, and a couple more other e-commerce platforms. But let's talk to Ruhi. Ruhi, of course, we're still taking stock of the history and where we have come from and all these things. How do you think the evolution has been like since you started hearing people making purchases online of whatever, whether it's property, whether it's a phone or electronics, any other kind of form of electronics? How do you think the industry in Kenya has really evolved?
The industry in Kenya is kind of following the trends, like I believe in the current scenario where Far East or US is leading the number of purchases that are made online, then followed by Middle East, Southern Asia, and then now coming to the African side. I would divide probably, or I would like to explain it more from the customer journey perspective and how businesses have reacted to the change in the customer journey that's happened from say 2010 rather to 2021. So in terms of customer journey, I mean like with the way people first see your logo or your brand, or the way they first get curious about knowing what you do, to then them considering your product, and then finally, going ahead, giving that money out of their pocket and now investing into your product. And then again, that it doesn't end there, and then how do you continue maintaining that relationship in terms of repurchases, in terms of recommendations and such. So, okay, I'd like to take an example of an iceberg, right? The tip that you see is somebody coming to your shop, picking a product, making a purchase, and that's it. What you don't see is what lies beneath the ocean, right? The 90% of the effort that goes into somebody coming to your shop, picking up the product, and finally making the purchase. So how this customer journey has evolved is now, if you could imagine the iceberg slowly coming out of the ocean. It's somewhere where initially somebody would just go to your store, pick up the product that they want, make the purchase, and that's the end of it. But now with the iceberg coming out, there's so much of research that's available online and offline to consumers. So slowly that has changed. The avenues for price, comparing the product, comparing the pricing, comparing the experience in terms of reviews and such, have shifted largely offline and online. And post-COVID now, the divide between the offline and online has shifted again, wherein the reviews, the price competition, the comparison has now moved on more on the online side. So this is how I've seen the customer journey evolving in simpler terms in the past 10 years.
Quite a journey there, quite a trajectory, and thank you for painting that picture of then and now. I want us to talk to Wafula. Earlier on when we were chatting, you told me that you have access to a lot of data, and this also goes to the business people in the house today. This can inform some of the things that you can invest in the future. Wafula, for the longest time that you have interacted with the e-commerce platforms, what are some of the most bought goods or items asked for services on the e-commerce platform? Because I understand on a daily basis there is always a phone to purchase, there is always a phone cover to purchase. But what are some of those commodities that are really moving in the market, and what are the categorizations? Kindly.
All right. Thanks for your question. I think one of the Kenyans, actually, e-commerce has driven some industries in Kenya, and the electronics industry and small-scale businessmen. With the advent of mobile phones becoming cheaper and all that, we have seen a lot of purchases, especially of mobile phone and other, you can say other items on the electronic front, especially laptops. And you can ask me, why is that? Because it's easy for comparison purposes. It's easy for you to go on your phone and check reviews, the latest baby make, quality, get feedback from fellow buyers, etc. So that's why electronics has had a few there. And one thing about electronics is that they usually stand. We can't say the same about fashion. Because if I'm going to buy something online, especially when it comes to clothes, I've got to try it out. Shoes, I need to fit them. But
there's the joke about what you order versus what you get.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And yeah, so that happens. But you can't say the same about electronics now. Another thing, another category that we see very, very high purchases is in vehicles and property. So mashamba. In short, some of these things you can't get them on Amazon. You can get them. You can only get them here. You can get a listing of a plot in Ruiru on Amazon. No, you can't. So we are seeing lots of purchases in that front, and guys trust our platforms like Buyrent Kenya, because we usually make sure that the sellers there are legit. you know. The sellers on PGME are legit. The sellers on Checky, these are guys we know, you know, they are wholly legit. So that's why they come to our platforms. I can say those categories are some of the big categories that we handle. And it's not just in Kenya, but elsewhere across Africa, it tends to be like a trend pattern.
Amazing. Thank you for speaking on the heterogeneity of various market segments. Of course, what will be listed in Philadelphia will not be listed in, let's say, Nairobi, Kenya, of course. And while at it, I read somewhere that these ladies here stopped buying makeup due to COVID. Of course, for obvious reasons, we're putting on masks. The number was so huge, it was 30% drop in makeup sales. Those of us who do beauty and cosmetics here, you have an experience. Maybe you'll be able to tell us at a later time. But thank you for hinting on customer experience, which is why I want to bring in Michael in right now. Michael, there's been the question about people conning others online. There is the question about not getting the products that you ordered for. The joke around what you order versus what you get. How do you think e-commerce platforms can upscale their customer experience? Because this is a big issue. Kenya as a culture, Kenya as a setting or as a market segment in this continent, we are still a bit held back on issues of buying stuff online. Trust you me, much as it is growing, there's still a bit of people holding back because of customer experience. They want to feel something, they want to touch it, the tangibility of it. But sometimes you may not get that opportunity. So the question about trust comes in, the question about originality. What can you tell us about advancing the client experience, the customer experience on e-commerce?
Thank you, Brian. Trust and management of risk has been one of the key barriers to the adoption of e-commerce in this part of the world. We have seen that we have been laggards. And a key barrier to that has been that issue of, will I get what I ordered? And we have seen that some of the companies that have succeeded in this space, they had to come up with a different business model. And a key differentiator for quite a number of them was providing the customer with the opportunity to pay when they see the good. When they get an opportunity to touch it, when they get an opportunity to feel it, and confirm that what they're actually getting is what they ordered. Another way to address that risk and gain the confidence of customers has been through having a return policy. I'll send the good to you. And if you don't like it, I'm open to you sending it back to me, and I'll give you a full refund. And we have seen some of the international players like Amazon using that as a way to win over their customers. But some of these models are actually becoming old. Because especially with social media, you lie to me once, and the whole world will know about it. So there's nowhere to hide anymore. And you'll find that we are now living in an age where when a customer is going to shop for a product online, one of the things that they will always do is look for reviews. It's no longer about getting references from people you know. You no longer ask a friend. You'll actually ask the whole world. And I think that is actually one of the things that is leading us to a place where there is increased trust, and also the social pressure for people to do things the right way is extremely high, because you only get to lie to people once, and after that, you are cooked.
Your goose is cooked. I tell you, quite some insightful talk right there. So I want us to talk to Abraham. Abraham, we're seeing a lot of uptake of social media. People are selling, young people are now selling on their statuses, and they're making some good money and all these things. You have been in this space for quite some time right now. I want to ask you two questions, and depending on how you look at them, they could be hard, they could be easy, but yes, this is for you to also speculate. What are some of the opportunities we are not taking up as young people in? Because we are benchmarking from other countries. Estonia perhaps is one of the biggest countries on e-commerce, on the digital platforms. What are some of the opportunities that you are seeing as a lower uptake of
or in the e-commerce platform? And then number two, what does it take to make it in this area? Because all the companies today are noticing that one way or another we are a tech company. So what does it take to make it, and what are some of the opportunities that we should take up in the market?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. So yes, as you put it very well, that everyone has moved to social media, and it's become now more of a tool. It used to be more of an engagement to have fun, to socialize, but now it's a business tool. Like it or not, one way or another, photos of this place, of today's event will find itself in the social media. Yet that was not a space we were in before. But so most people have actually taken their businesses on social media, so that's a good opportunity. But where we are missing it, I will say, is, for example, nowadays, and forgive me if there are people who still make e-commerce websites for people, but I think there are so many tools out there that are very free for you to start off. For example, if you want an e-commerce store, and I think that is a great opportunity. After the pandemic, we saw different companies coming up. I'll give an example. So there's like a payments player in the market known as Flutterwave. They introduced their Flutterwave store. So what that means is that today you can sit here, you have your inventory, you just go there, put your products, just upload your images, and have an e-commerce store. You're not paying any shilling, you're not paying any coin. And customers can purchase and check out. That's something you can configure in less than an hour, in less than 2 hours. So that's where we have gotten to. You don't have to say, I need to build a website, I need to have this. That is the first opportunity I see, that it becomes very easy to actually own an e-commerce store. There shouldn't be any excuse. Again, I'll also give another example. If you've seen Facebook nowadays, you're able to redirect your customers from Facebook and redirect them to WhatsApp. So we are moving it again. WhatsApp used to be a social platform where we used to engage and just chat. But now it's becoming a tool of engagement, okay? Where now you're engaging with your customers. And it's actually working much better than even in some e-commerce stores. Again, arguably because of the different experiences in the different e-commerce stores. Because this time right now, you have a personal engagement with the customer. So if I'm buying a trouser, then you're able to engage the customer. I want this trouser, which one? Black or red? And this is still a tool that you just use through WhatsApp, and it's a very free tool. So I believe we need to look at social media differently. Instagram has come up with a way where if you have an e-commerce link, you can put it there and people can shop directly from you, and you actually do a payment. I mean, so the point here is, number one, it's become so easy to own an e-commerce store, so there shouldn't be any excuse for us not taking our business online. The cost is absolutely zero. There are so many players in the market in terms of payment aggregators. So you shouldn't say, I don't have a pay bill, I don't have a credit card, checkout. I'm sure even I&M is represented here. You guys can offer that. So there's so many players in the market, and I believe there should be no excuse. There's so many opportunities. Number two, what does it take to grow in this space? I will say, number one, you need to understand that most consumers are on their mobile phones. Okay? That's the first step for me. So most consumers are on their mobile phones. There was a study by Google on how many times you touch your phone. Who'd want to guess how many times you touch your phone in a day? So I'll give you that as homework. But the number of times you touch your phone every day is, if you get that number, you won't even believe. So everyone is on their mobile phone. So make sure whatever you're doing in terms of e-commerce has a very good mobile responsiveness, because most of your customers will actually purchase and check out through the mobile phone. Arguably, that's the most preferred method by consumers. Number two, again, and I say this because I'm a fanatic of technology, is that you also need to look at the next level where we're going. And I want to talk about it from a point of augmented reality, for example, where you mentioned about beauty and cosmetics. Why would people not shop for the ladies? Let's engage you a bit. Why would you shop your makeup on an online store, but you'll prefer to actually walk into a store and purchase that item? It's because when you walk into that shop, you want that lady to try different, the makeup works with different complexions. I don't apply, but I think I know one or two things. I stand guided. But you want that same experience. You want that same experience that you get when you go to the shop. They'll tell you, no, this doesn't work for your skin. This might give you some bit of, a few things with your skin. So you want that same experience that you're getting from that physical shop to be taken online. And that's what we need to do. We need to make sure the same experience you get when you get at a physical shop is the same experience you're getting online. So then you also need to make it a very fast and easy checkout. Let it be straightforward, okay? So let it be, a customer spends less than 2 minutes purchasing an item. That experience has to be fast, it has to be very smooth, so that customers are not bored. And of course, we mentioned something to do with data. Also, as business people, you need to capture your data for your consumers in a way that it informs what you need to improve. If a particular page is losing a lot of customers, you need to work on that. So have a lot of data backed up so that you're able to improve that experience. And just to summarize it, the only way you will survive in this market is by making sure that your customer experience is spot on. That engagement has to be on another level.
Wow, wow, wow. Round of applause for him. That your business decisions do not have to be banked on assumptions. You need to have data. You need to back what you're implementing with a lot of data. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to give you a chance you want to open up the floor so that you can ask questions. So we hope you're preparing the questions. I hope the floor manager will be able to pass your microphone later on. Nataka niulize swali la kizushi kidogo na tunaenda kwa Michael. Michael, I know you're not in government, but there is the issue about the digital service tax. Computed at 1.5% of every gross transaction that is made online. I don't know what your experience with it from a financial institution point of view. What do you think about the DST? India currently has the highest DST rate at around 6.5% in the world. Other economies have already implemented it, so we just want to hear your voice on it and perhaps what would be recommendable for this kind of a young economy that is trying to make a living from the digital economy. Let me hear your thoughts on that.
Brian, thanks for throwing me under the bus. But indeed, it's a conversation we need to have. And it's one of those things where there are arguments on either side. On the one hand, you can understand that with e-commerce, and especially what we're seeing happening with the digitization, it's globalization happening at Mach 2, Mach 10, at that kind of speed. We're getting to a place where we have especially big tech. It's taking over, and it's cleaning out everybody else. The kind of payments that we're making to Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, they're massive. And this is business that would otherwise have been done locally. And what some of these companies have done is they've gone and set up in tax havens. They've gone and set up in the likes of Ireland and so on. And you therefore end up with, if you can call it, capital flows, where money is leaving economies like ours that are developing and going to more developed economies. So to some extent, I can understand somebody sitting down and saying that, look, we need to try and make sure that some of these business that would otherwise have been here and generated tax revenues for us, as it goes overseas, we get a piece of the pie. It's understandable to think about somebody looking at, if this is how much the Kenyan public is paying to Google, this is how much people are paying to Facebook for marketing and advertising, that we want to have a piece of this pie, because this is money that would otherwise have been spent locally.
Good afternoon. How are you guys doing? My name is Joel Rao. I'm the CEO of iProspect, which is part of the wider Dentsu Group. I also do have a role to play as far as data and customer experience is concerned in the digital space, and we've been driving this since 2017. And just like everyone else on this panel who have expressed the changes that have come about within this space, we have also experienced the same on our side, and I'm very, very excited to share with you this afternoon what we've gotten to see in this space and how we can actually help brands who are sitting in this room and those of you who own businesses and are watching it online or on TV or wherever to get that unfair advantage and get to own what I refer to as the third shelf. The first and second shelves have always been in modern trade and general trade. The third shelf is actually the e-commerce shelf, and I'll walk you through how we can actually go about that. Guys, would be how then do you gain that unfair advantage? First and foremost, I'd like to point out that we have been able to actually create a tailored online self-assessment audit to help you understand where you are within your e-commerce journey, irregardless of the business you're operating in. And so this online self-assessment can be found on our website. You can go and you can just audit yourself. You can actually go and get your own audit and get that audit done. The moment you get the audit done, we can then contact you and find out where we can be able to improve how to grow your e-commerce across the different channels that you operate in. And there's a tailored playbook that you can actually be able to do for you. Now, the reason why this is possible is because the model that we've created is quite interesting for e-commerce businesses. Number one, any business that's operating in the e-commerce environment requires to meet aspects of these 4 quadrants. So the first aspect is availability, meeting consumers where they really are. And so from the online assessment that you would do and the questions that you would be asked, it's quite really easy for you to figure out how you score against your online channels, if you have any, how you score against the way you take advantage of omni-channel strategies, how you score against the inventory that you're pushing through e-commerce platforms. And then the second aspect is findability, whereby we want to try as much as possible to ensure that as a business, you are able to drive relevant visibility where it matters. And this is now where your media amplification would come alive. One aspect of it is your paid media, so whatever you pay, TV, radio, print, out of home, digital media comes to life. Organic media, if you have any word of mouth, do you have any loyalty programs that you're running? How do we get more people to learn about your platforms without you necessarily paying for it? And then benchmarking you against competition. So are there competitors within the same space that you're working with? How do you benchmark against them? And then the third aspect is viability, and this is really where we try as much as possible to differentiate your brand or your products and services from the competition. As far as the content that you're putting out on social media, you've heard about social playing a very big role. Pricing, how are you priced against competition, and are you running any promotions around that? And then there's the aspect of repeatability, which is the final part, whereby we look at building a relationship beyond that first sale. From the panelists that we talked with here earlier on, we looked at certain ways in which we can be able to engage and retain customers, certain ways in which customers can actually be able to give us feedback. Most of you may not know this, but Amazon today is regarded as a place where product research happens before people go and buy. So the first thing they do is that they sell product, but the second thing they do is that they also provide a lot of customer feedback. So when people are doing research, if I want to go and buy a TV today, I'd go on Amazon and I read the reviews of the TV, and then I get that back to us. And then finally, there's the loyalty aspect. How do I keep on coming back? Now, based on this study, we've been able to make it easy for brands here in Kenya. We've been able to actually benchmark against different verticals. So we've benchmarked it for you who are in energy and you want to get into e-commerce. We've been able to benchmark for you what that looks like there. If you're in banking and finance, I&M Bank, we can be able to actually get that for you as far as your ratings are concerned and how we can actually take it forward. Any consumer packaged goods players, we can be able to do that for you. In commerce, consumer electronics, business services. And the list goes on as far as food and beverage is concerned, retail, travel and tourism, telco, luxury, media, and so on and so forth. Now, the other thing that we've been able to do is assist players within the e-commerce environment understand what that shelf and go to iprospect.com or just go and Google e-commerce audit iProspect and you'll actually be taken to the link directly. What we can then be able to find out from that is to get an understanding of, number one, what your direct-to-consumer capabilities look like, and we can actually be able to tailor certain aspects, whether it's content assessment, whether you're commerce ready. We'll be able to actually create a roadmap for you around multi-channel activation for commerce, your media investment opportunities. We'll also try as much as possible to help you with your direct-to-consumer revenue models and customer lifetime value modeling. And then we'll also focus on your people and processes. So a lot of businesses say they want to get into e-commerce. However, your internal people and processes don't allow you to get into e-commerce. And so we'll bring in specialists to be able to look at how you can be able to create staffing models around direct-to-consumer, your talent, your job description, role definitions, and so on and so forth. And finally, your technology considerations and what you should be able to do to be truly a total commerce company. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for that highly detailed presentation. I appreciate it. Another round of applause for him as he takes to his seat. Wow, I have learned a thing or two from that as well. And now, just to keep the program going so that we're not caught up with time, it's time for our keynote speakers to give their address, and I'm sure we are going to similarly learn a thing or two. And without wasting time, let me invite, it is my pleasure to invite Mansoor Jiwani, Group CEO of Go Places. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everybody's got energy out there. We've been sitting for a few hours now. I'm going to take you through a journey which I feel some of the speakers have touched on already. However, we're going through a different journey where I will be able to elaborate more through my slides. So, the time to start planning for 2021 was yesterday. Marketing your websites, your social media was yesterday. However, it's never too late, it's now. So let's go ahead and let's see where we are. Okay, so everybody's talked about e-commerce. Our company is not in e-commerce. We are more into digital marketing. However, what's important is when you're building up your social media, your different platforms, websites and everything, it's important to understand user experience. What's important is the visitors to your pages have to have a seamless experience. When they're searching for a particular product, or whether they're looking at certain details of a TV or electronic item, it's important to give all the information. Also, what's important is when you have social media feeds, make sure that they are loud and clear and look really, really crisp. People who land on your pages enjoy watching videos, images which are crisp and clear. Consumers are more flexible today, but they're looking for better shopping experiences. Sluggish websites, sluggish pages, too heavy images which are loading slowly, nobody wants to see. They will get away from your website. So, what's important when you're building a website or social media pages is content is key. What are you putting on? What are you selling? Are you explaining people the benefits? Are you educating them? How much information are you providing to them so that they can make a decision not only on price and comparison, but what benefits they will get out of it. So what's important is rich visual content. Yes, it's important to use very, very crisp, clear images, more experiential, short visual videos, showcasing your products and services, more experiential. Update content regularly. It's important for you when you're doing your SEO for your websites and your social media pages. And increase your posts. A lot of people probably post once a day, maybe once a week. Once a day is very good. 3 times a week is recommended. Position your brand. Whenever you are selling a particular product or service, you've got to be the authoritative voice in your vertical. So that's very, very important aspects that you should be looking at when you're setting up your different online platforms. Setting up the online store, yes, complete the cycle. It's important to have a good payment gateway, as well as the logistics. We talked about delivery, packaging, ensure you are implementing certain APIs from your delivery logistics company that you work with, so that people can track, people want to trust that given you their money and they're expecting a delivery. DHL does it really well, and those are kind of things that you should be looking at when you're setting up your website. Once your product is ready, once your platforms are ready, what are you doing? Is it just sitting there? Or how are you driving traffic to your website? So very important, create a strong marketing strategy around having people come to your website. So the first place to start is email marketing. You already have existing clients that you are selling products to. Do you have their email address? Start marketing.
Now, please allow me to invite Kenneth Oyola, the CCO of Jumia Kenya. Kenneth?
Good evening. Are you all right? All right, I'm going to try and make this a little bit more exciting. So my name is Kenneth Oyola. I'm the CCO at Jumia Kenya. Before Jumia, I've been at Jumia for about 20 months. Prior to that, my career has taken me different places and different industries. And today it's quite exciting for me because it feels like a deja vu, because all the people that I've worked with today are my customers. So it makes my work really, really easy, literally all without exception. And having lived in different places over the last 20 years of my life and coming back home, and it feels like I'm having a front row seat working with very brilliant people at Jumia. I think the average age of Jumia today is around about under 30 years old, so all of these are millennials bouncing off the wall, and I think I'm rather old for the cohort, but it's always very, very exciting, and I'm seeing some of my colleagues in the room. I won't embarrass myself by asking them to wave, but that's the excitement that I have. Before I go on, I just wanted to ask a few questions, and this might be risky. How many of you have used Jumia the last 6 months? Can I see by show of hands? Pop it up so we see. All right, that's the first question, thank you. The second question, risky here. How many liked the experience? All right, I'm coming to the third question, okay? Great. How many did not like the experience? All right, good. I'm gonna hang around a few minutes after this, after the end, and I'd really want to put a face to Jumia and really help to get you over the top. Okay, so today I was asked to say a few things about shaping the future of e-commerce, and I think true to what my colleagues have said, I think I would want us to look at it like shaping the birth of e-commerce, because I think we're really in the early days of this, and it is not about the future, but the birth of e-commerce. And I thought about it this way, and each and every day, my colleagues know, some of them who work with me, that I look at tons upon tons of data. I spend my morning hours before I start the day looking at data. I spend my evening hours looking at data because of the speed of transactions that we're seeing on our platform. And I don't have a presentation, and I hope it is okay today to speak from my heart, from the front row seat, that I see data and the insights that I see. Is that all right? So I'm going to tell stories today. There's going to be data, and potentially if there's another day to talk about data, we'll talk about data. And today I thought about the ecosystem that a number of us have spoken about, and this I think really fits in well. And as we think about shaping the birth or the future of e-commerce, I wanted to speak about 5 areas of the ecosystem and potentially how you could plug into it, and what we're doing as Jumia to drive and grow the ecosystem, because we don't believe there is a one-horse show, that there are very many players and there's an interdependency on one another to make sure that this happens. Of course, as you all know, Jumia is listed in the New York Stock Exchange, and we trade publicly. But Jumia is a marketplace. What does that mean? That today I'm open to tens of thousands of vendors who come to sell on my platform. I make a commission out of this, but there are a number of other things that are happening around that. And when you think about the vendors who are on my platform, on one side I have L'Oreal, I have Unilever, I've got Samsung, but on the other side, I've got this lady that I'm very humbled about, who is one of my biggest fashion vendors that I had the privilege of meeting in January, who, if she tells you her story, 3 or 4 years ago, she tried coming to the city and failed 3 times and went back. And now she came back for the 4th time, and she's my biggest fashion vendor. Starting from scratch, operating from the house, she knows how she works her logistics, and is able to bring stuff onto my platform and sell it. So when I think about the ecosystem or the marketplace vendors that we work with, you realize that all of them are at different places, and one of the things that they need is, on one side is digital skills, the other side is e-commerce skills, and we're doing our best, and we've got an acquisition team, and we've got an incubation team that handholds them and helps them to get onto the point when they start making money. But I also realize that we are not able to do all of that, and I see a number of you here, and my hunch tells me there are people here potentially who are content creators who need to work with these people to help them. How do they get the right images? How do they get make sure that the right content is on it? I think that's one key area that if you think about from a digital skills and helping these people to come online, because just like they say content is king, I think now if there's something above king in e-commerce, we see that even more, and that's going to continue being so. And I don't think the job is always done by just listing. I think I'm going to tell a story in between. I'm the commercial director of one of the largest companies in this country. And it was not disappointing for me, but when I met him, I was showing him how to download the Jumia app and how to go around about it. And I just realized that there's still a really big job in education. They might be big offline, but everybody's trying to figure it out. Just like a small vendor is trying to figure out how to sell online, but also the big companies are trying to figure out, because traditionally they've relied on offline sales to make it happen. They know that online and e-commerce is happening, and they want to get online. So it's almost like I feel like it's early stages, the birth stages of making sure that e-commerce grows. And if you're a small business, take heart. If you're a big business, there's a lot of education and learning that you're going to do if you want to get e-commerce to the percentage of contribution you want to get it to. I think the second bit, when you think about marketplaces, one, we also have an on-demand platform. We call it Jumia Food today. And for this, we've got our competitors, whether they be Bolt or whether it be Uber Eats or the rest. But I think even here, one of the things that I find very exciting about this when it comes to competition, because think about it, food delivery is based on a geolocation. So if there's a restaurant here, this restaurant can only be able to deliver within a certain geography, because we've got to be able to assure a certain customer experience. If you're ordering food, you want to have it within a particular time. What does that give somebody who is in Ridgeways, a small restaurant, in that they're able to be really hyper-local and to be very tuned to their neighborhood? And when I think about that, one of the greatest excitements and working with my team who look after on-demand is, how do we recruit these smaller vendors Some politicians call them mamambogas, but let me not go there. How then do we recruit these smaller vendors and help them to come on board onto our platform and really be able to make a difference and make money? For those who've done it well, you realize today there's some concepts, and we'll talk about it in a short while, about, we call them dark kitchens, whereby you're not able to walk in, but I'm able to make the food and be able to supply a certain number of people. These opportunities are endless, and it's all about how you position yourself and take advantage of this. So there's a second bit, which is that part of the ecosystem. If marketplace is one of them, the other one is on-demand services. And today there's no end to some of the things you can be able to do on demand. One of the things you'll see it online that we're trialing today, we know the ladies, it's Thursday, I know I want to do my hair. I've not thought about what I want. And Friday, I want to order the braids and I want them to come so that when I go to see my hairdresser, I have that. So we're trialing that and trying to see, is this going to work? We're trialing interesting things. I think gas delivery has been on for a while. We're trialing that, we're trialing water. And for us, that is excitement, trying to see where does this go. And the beautiful thing is we're working with vendors, we're not necessarily sourcing this ourselves. A third bit that I'm going to talk about, I've got 5, remember, so there are 2 more, is when it comes to logistics. I know that there are marketplaces which are based on social media platforms, whether it be Instagram or whether it is Facebook, and then of course we are also a marketplace. But one of the things you realize that after doing the transaction online, somebody has to deliver that to you so that you're able to make sure that this is what you get. And within that space, one of the things that we've realized, what are the things that we are doing? Of course, today Jumia has opened up our logistics services, and I'd want to believe, think about the tens of thousands of parcels that we deliver each and every month, anywhere in the country, from Mandera to Lunga to Peketoni to Turkana. I want to believe that we've got a really big network, that we're allowing somebody who's selling something on Facebook to be able to get it to us to deliver it at very competitive rates. Remember, what we're trying to do here is to reduce the cost of doing these deliveries to the last bit, because up until today, the logistics providers are used to supplying in bulk, so it's a big truckload that moves from one end to another. And within here, one of the interesting and exciting things is, somebody mentioned, like, if you think about, and I spent a bit of my time in FMCG working for Unilever for 7 years, and you think about Nairobi is a big contributor. I think in FMCG, Nairobi contributes about 50-60% of the sales, depending on the company and depending on how high up the pricing index your product is on. And then the rest of the country is 40%. Yet today, I think with the whole county government that's been on for a couple of years, we're seeing all these other cities and towns starting to grow. One of the things that we've done is we've expanded our pickup station network. And the exciting thing that in a small town like Kisii, we're going to work with a local party. Most of the time, it's a small partner who is known in the neighborhood, such that, and how we are helping to grow the birth of e-commerce is, somebody has seen a TV, they want to go and buy it, they don't know how to go online, so they would go to this local party and tell them, listen, I want to buy the TV. So the person's going to open the phone and show them the different price comparisons and help them to place their orders. So that has been very exciting, and a couple of things we're doing around about there. Moving on to the fourth one is the payment solutions, and my the previous person who came from a bank perspective spoke about the payment solutions that are there. Very interesting thing, this is M-Pesa country, and I think over 80%, close to 90% of transactions that are on M-Pesa. Some of the interesting, exciting things that we're doing is not just cash on delivery, but it's M-Pesa on delivery, because we're trying to make the ecosystem payless. And within here, we're having discussions with an interesting person who says that, hey, listen, I can be able to offer Jumia a risk assessment, so that if somebody wants to buy something and he wants to leave a pole, just like happens with Safaricom and is it Mshwari or is Fuliza? Somebody's able to do a really quick credit assessment and tells them this is how much you can be able to get this product for, and you go ahead and buy it. So we're working with all these different people to make sure, like I say, it's not a one-horse show. There are many people who we can be able to work with to grow the ecosystem. The final one is about advertising solutions. And one of the interesting things that we see is, today I can say without fear of contradiction, about 35% of the people on the internet are on Jumia. We see them every month coming in, and sometimes I think, like somebody said about people use Amazon to do research. We're seeing today people are using Jumia to do research on the pricing or something, because our price is always very visible. And as a result, then I've got a team who always makes sure that if it is sold anywhere in Kenya, I want to be the most competitive, and if I'm not the most competitive, then there are things I can be able to do to make sure I'm the most competitive. And I think on here, there's a lot more that can be done. So if you think about, I don't know your contextual situation, in here, outside of here, how can you be able to plug into the whole payment solution? And we're seeing quite exciting things happening. For Jumia, we've got Jumia Pay, which today is integrating M-Pesa, integrating MasterCard, Visa, integrating all these other players to make sure that you got all the options that you require. Then, of course, finally, I end from where I started off. I started my first job as a management trainer, as a brand manager, and I spent quite a lot of time understanding consumers and understanding shoppers. And one of the things that today Michael Joseph once said that Kenyans are very peculiar. And it's an area that we're very hungry about. If you ask me about the category decision tree for any category today, you wake me up at midnight, I'll tell you, if it's laundry, this is how the consumer shops, because that's how we were trained. But now come online, and I think there's some transferable skills, and there's some which are really new in trying to understand. One of the things we do at Jumia is understanding the cohorts. These people who come onto our platform now, how are they behaving? How often are they coming back? When they come back, what's the basket size? What are the triggers that will help them to buy? There's a whole school of thought there that is in the early stages of knowing, understanding, and developing, and we want to be able to get there. Last but not least, what are some of the things that I see sitting on the front row seat? I think an interesting bit is when I see what's happening in parts of China that I've done business with multiple times, is when I see the live streaming and the amount of sales. I think the last number I saw was almost $1 billion of sales being generated from live streaming content creators. And for us in Jumia today, if an influencer is pushing something on our platform, we are able to tell how much that they're pushing. So it's not just about my followership, but how much they're pushing. And today we're seeing quite a number of brands, when we're doing a campaign, bringing alongside a number of influencers to work, and I'm able to tell you which influencer is pushing the most. So there's less of BS on it, and there's a lot of data. And for us, we can do that because we are an e-commerce platform, and at the end of the day, we also sell. And that's an interesting thing that I'd want to see how that evolves over the next couple of months and years. And as Jumia and with our team, we want to be in the front row seat of making sure that this is developing in our world as much as we're seeing that in China. Somebody mentioned about Africa doing business or intra-country business, but one of the things that I personally, and this wakes me up early in the morning, is to think about how can Africa do business with itself, okay? And I would want to be able to sell stuff from Ethiopia here, from Nigeria, from Ghana, from each and every part of Africa. And I'm trying to figure that out, and I'm very passionate about that. How do we make sure we do business with ourselves? Because for us, being able to sell on our platform is enabling our people as Africans to be able to create wealth and to be able to sustain themselves. And I'm very, very passionate about that. And finally is to say, whether you're a big business or small business, big businesses are trying to figure it out. We're in the early stages, and small businesses are trying to figure it out. And I'm quite happy and excited to be a player in the ecosystem enabling this. Thank you very much for listening to me. Really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. We have appreciated, and it was brief and to the point. Thank you for that. Now it's time to invite one of our sponsors, and that is the one and only Orlando Lyomu from Standard Group, Karibu. We can do better than that, guys.
Hi. Someone should have told me to eat lunch. Anyway, when I was seated there, just wondering, will I be the last one, and will I have the energy by the time we get to the last one? So, given that I know I'm in the same boat with a couple of people, I'll try and be very brief so that we see if we can get to the next chapter. I'm Orlando Lyomu from the Standard Media Group, and I think I have like 3 presentations and iterations, and as every presenter came and spoke, and a lot of smart people have spoken on e-commerce, a lot of beautiful presentations have been made, a lot of fascinating data has been shared, and I think I'll be doing everyone a disservice
if I try and almost repeat the same kind of pattern, because then I don't think I'll be sharing any new insights. So I'll just try and look at it from a slightly different perspective when it comes to e-commerce, because I don't think I can add more value by giving you any better data or statistics to that. As a media organization, the Standard, of course, we are experimenting on the e-commerce platform, whether directly as ourselves or indirectly through partnerships. We believe that there's a lot of opportunity. We've seen in the past people come and say, okay, how do we partner? Largely because as a media organization, our reach is quite wide. We possess the platforms that can influence. Basically, a lot of advertisers come to media platforms whenever they want to reach audiences. The last couple of years, of course, we've seen a few things change. Technology, of course, has its negatives and positives. As things have changed, the disruption has been happening. And for every disruption, there's always probably a number of new opportunities. When COVID happened, one of our business lines is selling newspapers, and when COVID happened, some misinformed people actually said that newspapers can spread COVID. And with that little misinformation, and it's sad how misinformation actually does get traction. A lot of people said, no, I can't buy a newspaper because I contract COVID, despite the fact that people like the World Health Organization came out and said to the contrary, that actually you can't. And in particular, like in our case, 95% of the process is automated, which means there's no contact with human beings until probably the point at which it's being loaded into the vans and the point at which the vendor is selling, if you're buying from a vendor. Now, if it is being distributed through an outlet like a convenience store, a supermarket, then the human interaction probably is limited to about 2%, because then you need somebody to just stack them on the shelf. You probably need somebody who will move them from the van to the supermarket. After that, no other interaction. But we did see a significant impact in the early days on our numbers. And of course, luckily, several years ago, we had started distributing our papers digitally, which is some form of e-commerce. But interestingly, not all products render themselves to the same user experience when you go onto digital platforms or into the e-commerce space. Naturally, of course, penetration of internet has been one big driver. However, still a big challenge. You know, if you live in the urban areas, if you live in Nairobi, if you live in Mombasa, you know, the cities and the big towns, you'll think that internet is readily available. Please, just take a short drive outside Nairobi. I don't think you'll need to do more than 40 kilometers outside Nairobi to start getting the realities of how difficult it is to get reliable internet. So yes, it is driving shifts, but how deep has it penetrated the market? It is growing, but what proportion of the population is covered by reliable internet? Remember, when I talk about reliable, you don't want to be midway through a transaction, then the connection drops. Woe unto you if that transaction was a payment transaction and you don't know whether it went through or it didn't go through. And if you don't have a two-factor authentication like SMS to tell you some payment went through, it's very easy to find yourself double paying. Of course, mobile phones are driving that adoption. Everyone has a mobile phone. Most of us, to the detriment of our eyesight, spend time looking at mobile phones throughout the day. And that means that this space becomes where a lot of activities are taking place, not just e-commerce. Even blossoming relationships today are being built on these things. You know, when I was growing up, you had to write letters, go to the post office, lick a stamp, paste it on the envelope, and then wait 3 weeks to see if you succeeded. Today, all you need to do is download an app, and in 1 hour, you probably are celebrating or mourning your loss. But things are changing so fast, right? Things have moved so fast. Now, what are the things I've experienced, we've experienced, especially from a media perspective about this e-commerce? And I said a lot of statistics have been shared, a lot of beautiful things are being said. But when rubber meets road, what are the basics? Our first challenge has always been the supply chain and logistics, right? I think if we have to grow this space, if we have to get local solutions for local products, we have to figure out this supply chain and logistics nightmare. It has to be reliable. It has to be able to reach as many customers as possible. And most importantly, in my opinion, it has to be an industry by itself, because today you get the sense that everyone who ventures into e-commerce wants to set their own A to Z kind of thing. You want to set out your own e-commerce platform, you want to set up your own payment gateway, you want to set up your own supply chain. Why are we wasting so much resources trying to do things in silos? Why can't some people say, okay, everyone is trying to come up with platforms, why don't a couple of us come up with the logistics solutions? Then we go and
And now